Okay, we're back on the next video with Chapter 3, Where is Mr. E? The next afternoon, the worried girls went straight to Aunt Miranda's house and knocked on the door. Did Mr. E come home? Asked Kendall. Yes and no, said Aunt Miranda. I left food and water outside last night, and this morning they're gone. So he came back to eat his food. So I'm pretty sure that Mr. E came and ate and drank them. It could have been a raccoon, said Willa. There were paw prints in the snow, said Aunt Miranda, and I think that they were a dog's. But then why didn't Mr. E stay at your house and bark to be let in? Asked Camille. I don't know, said Aunt Miranda, shaking her head. What if Mr. E has found a way out of the garden? Asked Emerson. Maybe Mr. E went back to Mr. Shu Ping's house. I went over to Mr. Shu Ping's house today, said Aunt Miranda. It's closed up. But I looked all around outside and did not find Mr. E. There were no paw prints either. Oh, I hate to think of Mr. E sleeping outside in the cold, said Ashlyn, shivering in sympathy. Well, just in case Mr. E left the garden, we'll make missing dog signs to put up all around the neighborhood, said Kendall. That'll be good, said Aunt Miranda. I've already emailed my neighbors, alerted the police, and called all the animal shelters in town. If anyone finds Mr. E, we'll know soon. Meanwhile, we'll search the whole garden today, said Willa. But the girls didn't find Mr. E in the garden, and no one called Aunt Miranda to say that they had found Mr. E that day, or the next day, or the day after that. Still, the dog food that Aunt Miranda left out disappeared every night, and there were fresh paw prints in the snow by the bowls every morning. So the girls and Aunt Miranda were almost certain that Mr. E was in the garden, at least some of the time. On the fourth day, as they had every day, the determined girls searched the garden high and low, from one end to the other. It was tough. Their feet slipped in the snowy ground. Sometimes they fell, and snow got in their Wellington boots and melted. Snow stuck in clumps on their mittens, plopped off branches onto their heads, and trickled icily down their necks. They shouted and hooted and hollered for Mr. E until their throats were sore. They found a few paw prints here and there, but the wind blew the wispy, whiskery snow all around, so that any tracks Mr. E might have left were covered. No matter how hard they tried, the girls could not find the dog in the garden. Mr. E! Here, Mr. E! Mr. E, where are you? I just don't understand why we can't find Mr. E, said Ashlyn, stamping and stomping to get the snow off her boots. We know he has to be in the garden somewhere. Yes, said Camille, because the gate is always closed. There's no way out. We know that he comes to the garden when he's hungry, said Kendall, because the food and water that Aunt Miranda leaves out disappears every night. A raccoon could be eating it, Willa pointed out again. Aunt Miranda thinks that the paw prints around the bowls are a dog's, said Camille. But if Mr. E is in the garden, why doesn't he come when we call? Asked Ashlyn. Maybe he can't hear us, said Kendall. Or maybe he's hurt and can't come, said Willa in a small, sad voice. Or maybe he just doesn't want to be found, said Emerson. Why not? Wailed the other girls. Don't ask me, Emerson shrugged. It's a mystery. The next day there was a new mystery. Look at this mess, wailed Kendall. Some animal got into the playhouse and ate a bunch of the popcorn. Maybe it was Mr. E, said Camille. Or maybe it's a raccoon that might be eating the dog's food Aunt Miranda leaves out, said Willa. Do raccoons steal costumes? Asked Emerson. Because one of the costumes is missing. Gosh, said Ashlyn, it seems like there is a thief in the garden. No, don't say that, cried the girls. Well, there may not be a thief, said Kendall, but there's definitely a mystery in the garden. Yes, said Camille, it's a mystery called Why Are Things Disappearing? The girls went to work, cleaning up the playhouse. It was a warm and sunny day, so Willa opened the door to swoop popcorn crumbs outside for the animals to eat. Plip! Look, said Willa, the snow is melting, just as we wished for. All the girls crowded in the doorway to look. The sun shone hot and strong in the bright blue sky. It turned the drops of dripping snow into prisms, and it melted the glittery snow into slush. The ice is going away at last, said Emerson. She sang to the tune of Old MacDonald. With a drip, drip here and a drip, drip there, here a drip, there a drip, everywhere a drip, drip. We should celebrate, said Ashlyn, who loved parties. Celebrate, said Kendall. I don't really think any of us is in a party mood. She listed the reasons on her fingers. Mr. E is gone. The popcorn for the animals is gone. A costume is gone. And soon the snow will be gone, which means that time is passing and Xu Ping will be coming back from China. The girls were quiet. Then Camille said aloud what they were all thinking. With sinking hearts, pretty soon Aunt Miranda will have to let Xu Ping know that Mr. E is gone. No, 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 said Ashlyn. Mr. E is only lost. We just haven't found him yet. We shouldn't give up and say that he's gone. Ashlyn's right, said Emerson. Giving up would just make Aunt Miranda and all of us feel worse. Willa put on her coat and hat. We can't do anything about Xu Ping returning soon, she said briskly, but we can do something to make Aunt Miranda and ourselves feel better. We can find Mr. E, exclaimed the girls. He's got to be in the garden, said Kendall. It's up to us to find him. Chapter 4, Mr. E Mystery. Carrot wanted to come along. So Camille scooped him up and carried him in her arms, and as the girls set off to search the garden one more time. The melting snow was so slippery under their wellies that walking up the hilly part of the path was a bit like doing the bunny hop. For every step forward, they slid back too. It was so warm that the girls soon shoved their scarves, hats, and mittens into their pockets and unzipped their coats. By the time the girls got to the top of the hill, they were sweaty. I'm roasting, moaned Ashlyn, flopping onto a big rock. Can we rest for a second? Kendall nodded. She was too out of breath to talk. Camille put Carrot down and flapped the sides of her coat to fan herself. It's nice to have this bare rock to rest on, said Willa. This is the first day since we started searching that it hasn't been covered with snow. Kendall sighed. That's the only difference between today and every other day, she said. Just like always, we've looked and looked, but we haven't found Mr. E. All the girls were sadly silent. They knew that Kendall was right. Ashlyn turned to Camille. Bless you, she said. I didn't sneeze, said Camille. Oh, said Ashlyn. I heard a teeny sneeze, and I thought it was you. I heard a sneeze too, said Willa. I guess it was Carrot. Do bunnies sneeze? Asked Kendall. Sure they do, said Willa. Where is Carrot anyway? Right here, said Emerson. She picked up Carrot to show him to Willa. Suddenly, flop, Carrot jumped out of Emerson's arms and hopped, hip, hop, hippity, to the other side of the big rock. Hey, said Emerson. Emerson, where are you going, Carrot? The girls slid off the rock and followed the bunny. Carrot's ears stuck up straight and his nose quivered as he stared into a little cave under the overhanging rock. The girls peered in to see what Carrot was looking at, and there, curled up cozily, was Mr. E. and puppies, breathed the girls, all enchanted. Oh, Mr. E, said Willa, we are so glad to find you. And your puppies are so cute. Now we understand why you disappeared, said Ashlyn. You came to Aunt Miranda's house and the playhouse to get food, but you had come back to your beautiful little puppies. They're wonderful, said Emerson. I love them. I bet we passed this little cave 100 times, said Kendall, but it was hidden by the snow. Thank goodness the snow has melted so that we could find Mr. E. I'm going to get Aunt Miranda, said Emerson. Already zooming down the hill, we'll be back in a flash. Tell her we found Mr. E, Camille shouted after her, but keep the puppies a surprise. In no time at all, the girls saw Aunt Miranda running up the hill. Her hair was windblown and wild, and she wasn't wearing a coat. Emerson was right on her heels. Mr. E, Aunt Miranda called as she came. Oh, I've been so worried about you. Aunt Miranda squatted to look into the cave, and when she saw the puppy, she gasped. She fell back and sat down hard thud on the wet, muddy ground. Puppies? She squealed. The girls laughed so with joy. 5, announced Kendall. Aren't they the cutest little things you've ever seen? Asked Ashlyn. Yes, said Aunt Miranda. Softly, Aunt Miranda stroked the dog's head. Oh, I'm proud of you, sweetie. Wait a second, said Willa. How did Mr. E have puppies? Isn't he a boy? Aunt Miranda guessed. Did you say Mr. E? She asked. I guess you've never seen the dog's name written down, have you? Her name is Mystery, not Mr. E. She mysteriously appeared at Shu Ping's house one day. He tried to find out who her owner was, but he never could. So she became Shu Ping's dog, and he named her Mystery. Mystery has solved the mystery of the disappearing food, said Ashlyn. She held up a popcorn bag. Mystery took it to eat. Mystery took the costume too, said Emerson, pointing to the bedraggled cloth on the ground. But I guess she needed it to keep her puppies warm, so we don't mind. Aunt Miranda held her hand out, and Mystery licked it lovingly. Will you trust us to carry your puppies home, Mystery? Asked Aunt Miranda. Mystery licked her hand again. I think that's a yes, said Aunt Miranda. So very gently, each girl picked up a squirmy puppy and then very, very slowly walked down the hill. Mystery circled them, keeping a watchful eye as Aunt Miranda led them all to her house. Once inside Aunt Miranda's house, Mystery seemed impatient and a little nervous, but she sighed happily when she and her puppies were safely settled in her comfy bed. Soon the whole darling doggy bunch had fallen asleep. Oh, it's going to be so sad when Shu Ping takes Mystery and her puppies away, said Camille. Aunt Miranda, said Willa, do you think if Shu Ping agrees we could keep the puppies here in the garden? No, honey, said Aunt Miranda gently. 5 puppies in a garden would be too much. They'll dig up the flowers and vegetables and scare the birds and animals too. The girls knew that Aunt Miranda was right. Still, they couldn't help being heartbroken. We'll miss them terribly, said Kendall, brushing away a tear, because we've already loved the puppies as much as we love Mystery, said Emerson. And that's with as much love as there is in the whole wide world. Aunt Miranda hugged the disappointed girls. I'm very grateful to you girls for finding Mystery, she said. I think we should celebrate. What if you and Mystery and the puppies and I have a sleepover party here Friday night? Hooray, cheered the girls. Thanks, Aunt Miranda. That will be great. A sleepover party with puppies, said Emerson, picturing it. I love it. It's wonderful. Okay, in chapter 5. When Friday came, the girls were excited. They surprised Aunt Miranda with a triple-decker cake. The cake was so big that they wheeled it in on a decorated cart. Ta-da, they said. Oh my, said Aunt Miranda, that's the prettiest cake I have ever seen. After they ate the party refreshments, the girls brushed their teeth and put on their nighties and slippers. Then Mystery and her puppies made themselves comfortable inside the tent, and the girls made themselves comfortable in their sleeping bags. Maybe Shu Ping will let Mystery and the puppies visit us here in the garden when spring comes, said Willa. Soon the girls and Mystery and her puppies were all fast asleep, dreaming of spring in the garden. The next morning, the girls were rolling up their sleeping bags when Aunt Miranda's phone rang. Everything was tidy, and the girls were sitting quietly with the puppies when she came back. That was Shu Ping, said Aunt Miranda. He's come from China, and he's coming over today. Oh no, Ashlyn whispered sadly. The girls held the puppies closer, dreading the moment they'd have to say goodbye. They looked up at Aunt Miranda, who with very long faces. I told Shu Ping what I told your parents when I spoke to them last night, said Aunt Miranda. I explained how hard you tried to find Mystery when she disappeared, and how careful and loving you have been with her puppies. Aunt Miranda smiled. I said that Mystery trusts you to take good care of her puppies. So they should too. The girls were silent. Then Kendall said, Wait, do you mean? Yes, said Aunt Miranda, smiling. Shu Ping and your parents agree. When the puppies are big enough to leave Mystery, you may each take one home. Said the girls joyfully. They hugged Aunt Miranda, and they hugged each other. They hugged Mystery, whose tail wagged thump, thump, thump with happiness. Then very gently, each happy Wellie wisher hugged her puppy, the puppy that was hers to love forever, for her very own. And that's the end of the story. I know that sometimes pets can be hard to take care of, but whether it's cats or dogs or rabbits, they need care. And sometimes you have to find the right time to have a pet, or maybe not for your family. But I have to tell you, I love that story, The Mystery of Mr. E. And the girls finally found him, her, not Mr. E, but Mystery and her puppies. Hope you liked it, and until next time, that's it for the Wellie Wishers. Bye, girls.